Hello there, everyone. Welcome to TERF-APOLOOZA, as I'm calling it, where I and joined by the fabulous Kezzbox. Hello, Kez.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good. We're going to be looking at some of the recent bilge that's been spewing forth from TERF land, so to speak. Yes. So, Kez, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone? Tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Kezzbox. I am a neurodivergent, queer, physically disabled Twitch streamer. Irish, living in the UK. I cover politics, LGBTQIA plus rights, LGBTQIA plus rights, disability rights. I dunk on reactionaries quite a lot of the time. I host panels every week. At the moment, it's on a Thursday, but that looks like it's probably going to change soon. So my daughter recently started back to school. Follow me if you want to.
Yes, it's linked under the YouTube video. Go and subscribe to, or at least follow. That's the free version, but you can subscribe, obviously, on Twitch to Kez. They're very good. Yes, and you're non-binary, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, which is part of the reason I wanted you on, because I didn't want to just be the cis dude on the internet screaming about things they don't necessarily know that much about. There's quite enough of that in the world.
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean, and I appreciate the effort as well.
Well, I appreciate your effort. Thank you for coming on. Yes, so
Absolutely.
we've got some serious stuff and some potentially not so serious stuff, but it's still kind of serious because even the random bigots on the internet, unfortunately, are listened to. Yes. So I thought we'd kick off by having a look at a rather serious matter from here in the UK. Over the course of the last couple of days, the British government have announced they're going to be doing a U-turn on their planned. They were going to reform the Gender Recognition Act to allow people to self-ID, and that's they've now U-turned on that.
So this is a really big problem for a few reasons. The ability to self-identify is particularly helpful for those who do not identify as one of the binary quote-unquote genders, right? So male or female.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that there is, if you fill out the Gender Recognition Act paperwork, right, non-binary isn't listed as an option. So one of the things you end up dealing with is this sort of in the middle ground where legally you don't have any protections as trans person because you don't identify as the opposite sex. The problem is the UK government keeps conflating sex with gender. But also it means that we cannot just go, I identify as this, without still going to umpteen doctors and getting several diagnoses letters. To be able to get a gender recognition certificate, you need 2 letters of diagnosis, from a psychiatrist and a gender therapist. So yeah, it's a clusterfuck. Basically, they said in 2018 they were going to do this, and of course Liz Truss comes in, and Liz Truss is all but Queen TERF in general, you know.
Yeah. We should explain. Liz Truss is the minister in charge of all this, and she's
the Equalities Minister. Yes.
Yeah, which is ironic, given the fact that she's such a bigot.
Yes.
That she would be
Equalities Minister. She's an enormous TERF.
Yeah. So, yes, and part of the problem was, like you say, in 2018, the Theresa May government announced that they would be updating the frankly fucking labyrinthine, ridiculous way in which trans people have to go about trying to legally change their gender recognition from legal documents and how they're treated by the law and things. And Boris Johnson has backtracked on that because Boris Johnson, I don't know if you've noticed, is a bit of a bigoted prick. Surprisingly.
Shit, really?
Yeah,
I've never fucking
guessed. Crazy days.
Wait, you're Northern, I can swear on your street, right?
No, you fucking can't. Behave yourself.
Well,
absolutely
fuck then, isn't it?
outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. I mean, you're an Irish person. My father's Irish. He taught me how to swear. It's fine.
Yeah. Like a fucking sailor.
Indeed. Yes. So, not just that, but you're northern knockers. Southern people swear too. That's not a northern thing. Outrageous.
Not as much as the north fucking does.
True. In the north, it's like punctuation. It's not even separate words. It's like a comma, just a break, you know.
Yup.
It's
the same in Ireland, though.
Indeed. Oh yeah, I know. I've been to see my family in Kilkenny, and the odd word you could understand began with F and ended in "och." Anyway, yeah. So Boris Johnson's scrapped this idea. Another U-turn, and the reasoning was particularly strange. They said there were two particular quotes which I thought were rather telling as to the stupidity of this. They said that it wasn't a top priority for trans people.
Oh, don't. Because the thing is, me and my other half both had a rant about this, right? Because I was sat outside having a cigarette at the time when I read this through. And I read that portion, and he looked at me and went, "You know, Liz Truss, those things don't have to be mutually fucking exclusive."
Yeah, firstly, the idea that this entirely cis government, who only look out for cis people, frankly, would tell the trans community what their priorities are is rather strange. And, of course, just because it's not necessarily the top priority doesn't mean you shouldn't also do stuff. Like, for instance... It
is also one of the top priorities. Like, they listed waiting times as a top priority, right? The problem with that is that they are not thinking big enough. If the ability to self-identify is there, then the waiting lists will reduce.
Yeah.
Because those who aren't, comfortable end up then deciding, well, I'm not ready to self-identify yet, so that probably means I'm not ready to go to a gender therapist yet. Or it leads to, I am definitely this. I do not need to wait for a diagnosis to know I am this. I can go and see a gender identity clinic, have it confirmed, and go from there.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but it's obviously fallacious to say it's not a top priority, therefore they're not going to do it, because, I don't know, bin collection isn't a top priority, but the government still do it. Because you don't just do the things that are top priority, you deal with all of the problems as they arise, you know? So it's obviously nonsense.
It's almost like we can think two things at once.
Almost. Although we are expecting quite a lot from Boris Johnson, seems so he doesn't even know how many children he has. So, I mean, I don't know if he's
I'm not sure he knows how to dress himself in the morning.
Indeed, yes. Yeah, and the second piece of nonsense was they were they put this out to public consultation, because obviously when the government are planning to do a thing, you put it out to like the stakeholders, people who are involved in this and people who are concerned about it, whatever, and they can give their opinions on it, and the government are supposed to take that on board, and it's largely a PR exercise, but whatever. And they put
a stupid idea. Maybe don't put this shit out to an island, like the population of an island that is known for TERF.
Indeed, yeah.
Especially when it has nothing to do with that.
Indeed, yes. But what they were saying was it came back and people were largely in favour of some of the changes, and they said that that potentially because trans people had been overrepresented in the sample, that would have skewed it. But they specifically asked people who were interested in this to come forward about it. So they asked for trans people to come forward to give their opinions. They did, and then they said, "Oh, because you came forward, you've skewed the numbers." What are you doing?
Only
What's the point of it?
Trans people should be coming forward about this. Cis people shouldn't be getting a say.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect them in any way.
One tiny caveat I would say that medical experts should be consulted, at least, not necessarily in the public consultation, but in some part in the process.
I wouldn't even...
outside of that.
At some point, yes, but not for a considerable amount of time, because there is an inordinate amount of doctors in the UK that are also TERFs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I just wanted to add that tiny caveat just in case, because I know that TERFs are going to come after this anyway, regardless of what we say. Literally, as soon as I set the stream up, there was a TERF comment in the chat already, and I set this up 12 hours ago or something. So they're going to try and twist it. So I just wanted to add that caveat for intellectual consistency or whatever. But yeah, But yeah, trans people should be the ones having a say on this because they're the ones affected.
Even then, like, trans people are so used to having to defend our very existence that we know the science inside out and back, like, more than a lot of doctors do. To the point where, at this stage, the only people you really need to ask, other than when it comes to budgeting, are trans people. Like, yeah, talk to the Treasury about budgeting and what have you for making it easier by all means. Let the doctors know and let them have a small amount of leeway in terms of the way they do. But do not say whether or not you do this is up to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And actually, I think this probably would save money because if you don't have to take up the time of 2 doctors for each trans person to get those letters, surely that would freeze up space and the number of hours you have to employ those doctors for.
It also saves up an inordinate amount of mental health funding.
Yes.
Because trans people will be less depressed. They will try to commit suicide less. You know, all of these things have knock-on effects. And social dysphoria is one of the big reasons that trans people try to kill themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Not that I expect Turfy McTurpface Truss to give a shit about that, but ideally you'd want an equalities minister to care about that, but I dare say she wouldn't. And of course this has dragged Britain's already tattered name through the mud on the international stage. Because
I mean, Britain's been through a lot. I think you can take it.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll survive, but it's still not great. Yeah. And Amnesty International have come forward. This is the article I've got here. So Amnesty International, the human rights organisation, is basically dragging Britain for this, and rightly fucking so. The organisation's Women's Rights Programme Director, and apologies for what is almost certainly going to be a mispronunciation, Chiara Capraro, said, quote, reports that the government intends to scrap plans to bring gender recognition laws in line with human rights standards are extremely worrying. More than 2 years ago, the government rightly set out a plan to reform the out-of-date Gender Recognition Act. A U-turn on this would send a chilling message to the UK that the UK is a hostile place for trans people, perpetuating wrong stereotypes of trans women as a danger to other women is dehumanising and wrong, and risks further inciting hate crimes against trans people. The UK, and this is the horrible bit, I suppose, the UK is already slipping further and further down the European rankings for LGBT equality, falling from 3rd to 9th over the last 3 years. Oof. The proposed move would no doubt see the UK plummet even further, unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the BBC reported in June of last year that hate crimes against trans people had risen 81% in the course of a year in England, Scotland and Wales.
Oh, imagine that. A Wales famous author opens her mouth being hateful towards trans people and hate crimes rise. I'll be damned. Surprised Pikachu face.
Yes, the undoubtedly the kind of political mainstreaming of TERF bilge has undoubtedly led to some of that.
At the very least, yeah, if not most of it. One of the things that the pronunciation of that name, as far as I could make out, was Chiara Capraro, I believe, because it sounds some form of Hispanic.
Indeed, almost certainly. That's why I apologised in advance, because I knew I was going to fuck it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really bothers me is that, like, they've always done this. They've never stopped it. But they sit there, like, as bold as brass, being like, we care about this, we care about that, we care about human rights, we care about NHS funding, we care about trans people, black people, blah, 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 blah. And every single action they take goes against every single word they say.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it, yeah. All we can do, I suppose, is advise that if you're a British citizen or resident, you can vote. You can sign the petition on the Downing Street website, which asks at the very least, if we can get it up to the 100,000, it'll be debated in Parliament, which I think would be good for the proposed original changes that were going to be made to still be made. that will be available. If I remember, I'll put the link below. I meant to do that beforehand. My head is all over the place. So go and do that. I don't necessarily think that's going to completely change the situation. It might take more drastic action, and for terms of service reasons, I'll leave that sentence there. But yeah, we need to keep the pressure on because this is evil.
There is one thing I'm considering off the back of this. So one of the things that they said they're going to do is put the application for legally changing your gender online and making it cheaper. Now, there has been a landmark ruling in the UK recently that protects non-binary people from workplace discrimination under the Gender Recognition Act as it is now,
right,
which sets a brand new precedent of protections for non-binary people. If the government do not place a non-binary option on that gender change form, one of the things I'm considering doing is getting together with other non-binary people and setting up a class action lawsuit.
Oh, okay. That would be good.
Because it would directly affect the mental health of, non-binary people and people questioning their gender in general. Like, if someone's questioning their gender and they don't think they'll legally be able to change if they settle on non-binary, then what can you do?
Yeah. Gender recognition. Sorry, I'm going to find the people were asking in the chat, so I'm going to find the gender recognition petition. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Parliament, reform the Gender Recognition Act. Boom, there we go. Well, it's already past the 100,000, so it will be debated in Parliament. That's good. But if you want to go and follow that, I will edit now, because you can do that live on YouTube.
Yeah, this does not mean it will be debated in Parliament. Make that clear. They will consider debating it in Parliament.
Okay, yeah.
They don't legally have to.
No, they don't legally have to, but I believe they've never, as of yet, refused. Other than on issues for which it would be illegal to make the change in the first place. So if it's rejected on that basis...
There was something a couple of years ago that the Tories said no to debating that was petitioned, and I can't remember what it was. I can't for the life of me remember what it was. I think it was properly legalising and providing access to medical marijuana.
Oh, okay.
And it was a while ago, like just after David Cameron came into office, if I'm remembering rightly.
Okay, I mean, I don't know the exact example you're giving, but okay, I will take your word for that. And there we go. So it's now in the chat if you want to go and sign that if you're on YouTube.
Give me 2 seconds. I'll open it up in front of me.
Yeah. Waiting for the government. Yeah, the government. Well, I think, believe I'm right, the government have to respond. And they haven't yet.
They have to respond. They have to consider debating it. They don't actually have to do anything about it.
Yeah. Although I would be enormously surprised if they didn't debate that in Parliament. I think that's a contentious enough issue that would get a debate. But even so...
it depends. The problem is the Labour Party is also hugely riddled with TERFs.
Yeah. I didn't realise, because in the past I'd not stand necessarily, but been supportive of Jess Phillips because of her run-ins with Sargon of Akkad, known internet sex pest.
Fuck Sargon.
Yeah. But also...
Did you say you put it in the YouTube chat?
Yes. Is it?
I cannot see it.
Edit.
It's
there it is.
I can't see it.
So hang on.
It might just be because I've only just loaded it up.
It should be there, hopefully. Let me have a look. It should be there, hopefully. Oh,
okay, that might fix it.
Yeah, there you go. It's there. Yeah. Showing up for me.
There it is.
Boom.
I got it.
Lovely stuff.
To your chat. It's in the description of the stream as well.
Yes.
Which is where I ended up finding it.
Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry, did I say in the chat? Apologies. It's in the description underneath. Because the chat obviously scrolls by, so it's not pointless, but not as effective. So it's in the description. Go and sign that if you can. Again, if you're one of these dirty foreign types, then unfortunately the British government don't care for your opinion. But I do, which is ironic because, of course, Boris Johnson, the head of the government, was born in New York. But never mind. Yeah. So, but if you're a British citizen or resident, go and sign that, and good stuff. Yes. So, you did briefly mention. Have you got anything else to say on this, by the way, or should we move on?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm mostly just fucking irritated. And like I say, if they don't include a non-binary option on the application form for legally changing your gender, I will be looking at getting a load of non-binary people together to file a class action lawsuit, because it would be counted as discrimination now that that precedent is set. And the only way for that precedent to be overturned is if it's actively legislated away.
Yeah. Well, that would be awesome. If it comes to that, I would be happy to have you back on and discuss all of that, because that sounds like something that needs to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, you did briefly mention J.K. Rowling, which we'll segue into in just a second. But we're going to be talking a little bit about a woman called Posie Parker, who, that's not her real name, by the way. Her name's Kelly J. Keane Minchell, which isn't really any better, but there we go. And she's a grifting type. She's a grifting TERF piece of garbage, known for putting up billboards, random billboards of transphobic shite.
I am briefly aware.
This example here of her, with one with woman, noun, adult, human, female, was a thing she put up. That got taken down, because they all do. This is what she does, right? She puts up billboards, which are obviously meant to offend. They don't offend, they get taken down. She grifts. That's how that works.
And whines.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. And she got arrested over the weekend for something completely different, by the way, but we'll get onto that in a second. Because one of her other famous ones was this piece of nonsense here, where she put up around train stations all across Britain. She put up quite a decent amount of expense, even though they were taken down pretty quickly. I love J.K. Rowling, which is this poster here. I don't know what station that is. Doesn't really matter.
I don't understand how she gets money from this.
Well, because there are some people in the world with more money than sense who will fund this drivel. And she's allied with all kinds of far-right garbage. And there's all kind of Mercer and Coke money going into that, so... God knows.
Don't even.
Yes. So, but you wanted to talk about the recent J.K. Rowling schmozzle.
Oh yes. Have you seen the tweet?
Which tweet?
The latest one.
Oh, okay. I haven't. Do you want to screen share for us?
I will. Give me 2 seconds. Let me find it.
I need to unshare, don't I? Stop sharing. There we go.
There's something else I want to share with you that's positive as well.
We don't do. This is the internet. We don't do positive.
I do. I don't know if I can select which screen I share. Hang on. Oh, I can select which window. Oh, that's helpful. Share that. Right. Okay. So this
which doesn't burn.
Right. Look at this.
Okay.
Mm.
That's just kind of cringe.
From wildwomanworkshop.com. This is the interesting bit. So I would assume her buying this shirt, taking a picture of it, and then,
so that's
posting it on...
That's a picture of her in the t-shirt?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then posting it on Twitter is like endorsement of that brand, right?
Yeah, well, of course it is, yeah. I mean, she must have gone onto the site to buy it. She didn't know what was involved.
Look, I don't know if you can...
Yes, gender critical, yes.
This gets great.
Oh.
Abolish gender. Biology isn't bigotry. Women demand women-only spaces. Don't call me cis. Dykes, not dicks. And can I cringe at the word dyke, please? So hard. That's really homophobic. Fuck your pronouns.
Oh.
Female biology is not an identity. Female biology is not bigotry. Female is not a feeling. This entire website is filled with TERF talking point merchandise.
Get the L out of LGBT.
Yeah, they want to liberate lesbians from the LGBTQIA plus community because apparently lesbians are being oppressed by trans people
I was about to say
and gay men.
Well, the LGB Alliance will be furious because they'll just be the GB Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
There won't be any fucking letters left.
Look at this. Trans activism is misogyny. Yeah. Lesbians don't have penises.
What's that?
This is absurd.
Cotton sealing is rape.
That's something I'm going to have to look up. I'll do that.
What in the fuck does that mean?
Let's find out, shall we?
Yeah, that's...
Oh no, I pressed the wrong button.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I don't know, I've never even heard that phrase before. Cotton sealing.
Yeah. I'll do this way so I can actually see what I'm doing. Right. I'm so sorry for whatever we're about to find.
Yeah, massive alert, trigger warning here, because this could be fucking anything. I have no idea. The cotton sealing. Oh, was originally...
The term cotton sealing was originally coined by the intensely awesome Canadian trans activist and porn star Drew DeVoe, in which she referred quite specifically to the tendency within feminist and queer women's spaces for trans women to be, while nominally accepted as women and supported in their pursuit for rights and equality, regarded and treated as essentially desexed, unfuckable, and sometimes a bit repulsive, with this becoming highly politicized in regards to its implications for things like what a lesbian sexuality really means, how much of sexuality is orientation and something we can't be held accountable for, and how much is mediated by our perceptions, how sexuality can reveal that biases and lack of respecting gender identity continue to exist on visceral levels despite being intellectually or superficially rejected, etc. The cotton refers to underwear, the idea being here that no matter how much basic, nominal acceptance a trans woman can receive in feminist or queer or women's spaces, we're still always ultimately rejected when it comes to breaking the sexual barrier and being accepted as women to such a full extent that we are accepted sexually as women.
Right, okay. Well, we've learned something there.
Yeah.
We're bringing education to the masses.
The cotton sealing is essentially a refusal to accept trans women as women in a sexual sense, but like socially it's fine.
Okay. Well, okay. So they're misusing the concept then, clearly, but they mean basically accepting trans women as women is rape.
Yeah.
Which makes my fucking skin
cringe.
Crawl. Yeah. Amazing.
Also, like, lesbian, not queer. I know several lesbians who identify quite happily as queer.
No such thing as a lesbian with a penis. Lovely stuff. Jesus.
Oh, I can't. Thanks for following, Bollock. Satanic Meat Bollock. I know him well. I see him in a couple of the other chats I frequent.
Yeah. So this is the kind of garbage that J.K. Rowling is supporting. Oh, look at this. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, trans women are women. Fuck
I know,
off.
right?
Fuck off.
Garbage. And this, like...
What's that?
Wow.
Notorious trans fuck.
Yep.
Ay. This is absolutely disgusting. Queer politics erases lesbians. How does that fucking work?
I don't know. Thanks for following, Kern. Yes, Satan's bollocks is in fact here. Okay. I'm wondering if I just got like a Chud Logic raid and it didn't come up, because both of those people I've met in Chud Logic's chat. Thank you for the follow, Sybil. How are you, Kern? Are you well? Wow, my chat's going off the hook. Queer politics erases lesbians. It fucking doesn't.
No.
Repeal the Gender Recognition Act.
Oh wow! So they don't even want to they don't want to reform it. They want to get rid of even the minor protections it currently offers.
Mm-hmm. And oh, how relevant!
Yeah, self-ID raises women. I don't know
how
that.
I have to say to that.
Don't know how that works.
I have one thing to say to that.
Go on. Man-hater, feminazi, prude, witch, bigot, TERF. Cool.
Those are not good things. I don't know how some people think those are good things.
Well, I briefly did a series based on the idea of, someone reads something, look, Kevin reads blah, 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 and you read a book. And I was doing a series called A Feminazi Reads, where I went through, like, anti-feminist literature. But that was as a joke. I wouldn't put that on a fucking t-shirt. Jesus. Also, bigot isn't a slur, it's a description of bigoted people.
It's true. Sorry, my other half's making a salient point behind me. Yeah. Yeah, my other half points out that these are the same people who were campaigning like heavily against lesbians like 10 years ago because they were afraid lesbians would rape them if they went into women's domestic violence shelters.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about your dick, bro. And using the trans colours. Like, fucking hell, yeah, man. How scummy you have to be. By the way, yeah, good. That's a fine point your other half makes. Yeah.
Kev says that's a fine point.
Yeah, because that links in...
Yeah, he just said they're using lesbians as the Candace Owens of their movement.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
They are tokens, that's all they are.
Yeah. And it's the same arguments that are now that these fuckers are making against trans people, the same arguments that they're now quote unquote allies in the far right were using against gay people or lesbians in the past. It's the same arguments, it's the same bullshit.
Yeah. Sorry, there's also kids' toys randomly going off as people trip over them in the house. Thank you for the follow, Gaming Archaeologist and Pandinus Rec.
Hey, Gaming Archaeologist, that's one of my gods. Hello.
Yep, I'm watching on Kev's stream and I just had to follow.
Yes, listen to what Kez has to say. They know what they're talking about. I just shout at fascists. That's what I do.
Hellcat just said, trying to detach the T from LGBT is a right-wing strat I've heard before, but separating the L is a new.
Yeah, exactly. Like there'll just be a GB at that point, which will make it sound a little bit like a far-right movement, the GB Alliance. But there you go.
Oh no, gaming, is that good task-wise? I assume it is.
Member of TERF? That doesn't make sense.
Trans-exclusionary radical feminism.
Oh no, I know what it is. I mean, I called the stream TERF-APOLOOZA. I just meant...
Yeah, but that's what I mean, like, you're a member of trans-exclusion radical feminism as opposed to trans-exclusion radical feminist.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
cringe.
It is cringe. It's unbelievably cringe. Anyway, absolutely fuck J.K. Rowling to bits. That's ridiculous.
Thanks, gaming. Yeah, I mean, I have so many problems with J.K. Rowling on a, just a visceral level, right? So I'm going to go into that in a minute because it's connected to this. But I saw an interview written down, because it happened over, emails, with a philosopher and one of the mothers of gender studies. And she wrote one of the oldest books on the fluidity and difference of gender, and it is now used in gender studies classes in university as a source.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and we'll get into it, one of the things this interviewer asked was like, how do you feel about the violence and verbal abuse directed at J.K. Rowling? And the woman in question turned around and was like, I find it really interesting that you point out the violence and aggression she's experienced, but not the day-to-day violence and aggression experienced by trans people, not only on the internet, but in their real lives as well.
Yeah.
Just because of who they are, not because of what they say.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how you can look at the number of trans people who are driven to suicide by this hatred, the number of trans people that are killed or sexually abused or whatever, and look at it and think that it's the TERFs that are getting the rough end of violence here. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Judith Butler, yeah.
Yes, that's the bunny. So, no, go away. Okay, so it makes me feel, with some of the ways she's phrased questions, was written by a TERF. Judith Butler on the culture wars, J.K. Rowling, and living in, quote, anti-intellectual times. The philosopher and gender theorist discusses tensions in the feminist movement over trans rights. 30 years ago, the philosopher Judith Butler, now 64, published a book that revolutionized popular attitudes on gender. Gender Trouble, the work she's perhaps best known for, introduced ideas of gender as performance. It asked how we define the category of women and, as a consequence, who it is that feminism purports to fight for. Today, it is a foundational text on any gender studies reading list, and its arguments have long crossed over from the academy to popular culture. I had to put the teeth back in. In the 3 decades since Gender Trouble was published, the world has changed beyond recognition. In 2014, Time declared a transgender tipping point. Butler herself has moved on from that earlier work, writing widely on culture and politics, but disagreements over biological essentialism remain, as evidenced by the tension over trans rights within the feminist movement. How does Butler, who is Maxine Elliott Professor of Comparative Literature at Berkeley, see this debate today? Does she see a way to break the impasse? Butler recently exchanged emails with the New Statesman about this issue. The exchange has been edited, which concerned me from the get-go. I'd like to make that clear.
Yeah.
So, interview a load of further. In Gender Trouble, you wrote that contemporary feminist debates over the meaning of gender led time and again to a certain sense of trouble, as if the indeterminacy of gender might eventually culminate in the failure of feminism. How far do ideas you explored in that book 30 years ago help explain how the trans right debate has moved into mainstream culture and politics? To which Judith responded, I want to first question whether trans-exclusionary feminists are really the same as mainstream feminists. If you are right to identify the one with the other, then a feminist position opposing transphobia is a marginal one. I think this may be wrong. My wager is that most feminists support trans rights and oppose all forms of transphobia. So I find it worrisome that suddenly the trans-exclusionary radical feminist position is understood as commonly accepted or even mainstream. I think it's actually a fringe movement that is seeking to speak in the name of the mainstream, and that our responsibility is to refuse to let that happen. One example of mainstream public discourse on this issue in the UK is the argument about allowing people to self-identify in terms of their gender. In an open letter she published in June, J.K. Rowling articulated the concern that this would, quote, throw open the doors of bathrooms and changing rooms to any man who believes or feels he's a woman, potentially putting women at risk of violence. If we look closely at the example that you characterize as mainstream, we can see that a domain of fantasies at work, one which reflects more about the feminist who has such a fear than any actual existing situation in trans life. The feminist who holds such a view presumes that the penis doth define the person, and that anyone with a penis would identify as a woman for the purposes of entering such changing rooms and posing threat to the women inside. I would like to clarify at this point in time, by the way, as, me and not Judith Butler for a minute, that doesn't happen. Yeah. If a man wants to go into a women's changing room to be a predator, he just fucking will.
Yeah, it's such a fantastical notion that someone who is not prepared to abide by laws, which say you'll go to prison for decades potentially for raping somebody, someone who's prepared to break that law, that very, very serious law, will somehow adhere to the fact that it says, look, women's changing rooms on the outside of the door. Like, this person stepped beyond a cultural boundary that they're not going to listen to the little woman sign on the bathroom door. That's not something that's going to happen.
Yeah, like the fact that there's this magic fucking like barrier that comes with like the women's only symbol is just fucking laughable.
Yeah, it's nonsense, of course, and not just that, but how would you even begin to police any of this? Do you want fucking gender police outside every public toilet in the world?
Yeah, and how would you check?
Yeah, yeah. You're just gonna have to. What I mean, because it would be less creepy and open to abuse somehow if you had someone outside every toilet who had to check those genitals.
Yeah, and then what if it's this woman who is particularly masculine looking?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you do. I mean, there are people that are, and because it's almost as if gender isn't entirely a binary. There are some people who are very butch, some people are very feminine, and just let them go to the fucking toilet. Why are you checking? Why are you being weird? I've never once saw someone in the toilet and thought, I'll go over.
What bits they've got.
Yeah, I'm going to go over and check what genitals they have. That's weird. Stop being fucking weird. People go to the toilet mainly to piss and or shit. Stop it.
Or wash their face.
Or,
yeah.
Or do whatever.
Their hair.
It's none of your fucking business.
Like, it's not. Yes. And the thing is, right, like, what if they're post-op? What if this trans woman is post-op and it's a particularly neat job and you can't tell?
Yeah.
They're still a trans woman. They just don't have a dick. But you see, it's different then because they have a vagina. Because the problem is the dick. That's the problem. The problem is these women hate men.
Basically, yeah.
And in their hatred of men, penis equals bad.
Well, and I get this, by the way, before any TERFs attack. I understand that, say, for women who have been abused by men or by people with penises.
No, that's a bullshit argument.
Well, no, absolutely.
And I know that's hang on, let me finish. Yeah. That's a bullshit argument because I was raped 15, 16 times and I was molested as a child. I'm not afraid of a penis.
No,
it's a bullshit argument.
No, I know. I know, but I'm just saying for those who've been through that experience, I can understand it might be harrowing or whatever. But you don't they're not getting their dick out in front of you. You don't need to There's no situation in which a trans person's going into the toilet and getting their cock out and going, "Have you seen the size of this, love?" It's not happening. It's not something if you are scared.
Or, just fucking calling it out, strumming it, shouting Willy Banjo in the middle of the fucking
Exactly.
bathroom.
They're going there
it doesn't happen.
To the toilet. It's fine. You're not going to be confronted with anything. Outside of the fact that if you were going to be confronted, the sign on the outside of the door isn't stopping anything.
Yeah.
It's not protecting you magically.
Right? Trans women, by and large, if they are using a women's toilet, unless they, and this doesn't mean everything as far as I am concerned, to most people it doesn't mean anything whether or not you pass, and it shouldn't.
Yeah.
But trans people are very aware when it's hyper aware. And if they go into a women's toilet, even if other people think they pass, they still think they don't. And they will have their heads down. They will be keeping to themselves. They won't be talking to anybody. They won't be making eye contact because they're fucking terrified that they'll be clocked.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, it assumes that the penis is a threat, or that any person who has a penis who identifies as a woman is engaging in a base, deceitful, and harmful form of disguise. This is a rich fantasy and one that comes from powerful fears, but it does not describe a social reality. Trans women are often discriminated against in men's bathrooms, and their modes of self-identification are ways of describing a lived reality, one that cannot be captured or regulated by the fantasies brought to bear upon them. The fact that such fantasies pass as public argument is itself cause for worry. I want to challenge you on the term TERF, or trans-exclusionary radical feminist, which some people see as a slur.
Oh, fuck off. Sorry,
I'm not aware that TERF is used as a slur. I wonder what names self-declared feminists who wish to exclude trans women from women's pages would be called. If they do favour exclusion, why not call them exclusionary? If they understand themselves as belonging to that strain of radical feminism that opposes gender reassignment, why not call them radical feminists? My only regret is that there was a movement of radical sexual freedom that once travelled under the name of radical feminism, but it has sadly morphed into a campaign to pathologise trans and gender non-conforming people. My sense is that we have to renew the feminist commitment to gender equality and gender freedom in order to affirm the complexity of gendered lives as they are currently being lived. Which is just that's a sit down and shut up argument if I've ever heard.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, I mean, the idea that TERF is a slur is such a any time I hear someone making that quote unquote argument, I usually try and take on an argument, but when it comes to something like that, I just tell them to shut the fuck up, because they're just, instantly they're not acting in good faith.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point taking that on, because it isn't an argument where it's beneath refutation.
Yeah. Gaming archaeologists apparently used your argument just now of people going there to piss and shit against their mother, who is a Daily Mail reader.
Good. Yeah, because again, they do. If they go to the toilet, it's because they want to use the toilet. I know it's a shocker, I know, but...
She was concerned how uncomfortable my nephew would feel being in the same bathroom as girls at his school since they're elected for non-binary bathrooms.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I understand that from his... I've personally felt slightly odd when, you go abroad and there are unisex bathrooms. And that can be a bit weird because you're not used to it. But if you're raised as a kid with that, you'll get used to it. It's not a problem.
Yeah, and also, so there are other reasons than just trans people to institute unisex bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
My partner, I have really bad agoraphobia and anthropophobia, so getting out of the house is really difficult for me. If my other half takes the kids into the city and he needs to use a public toilet, we have a 5-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. Which toilet does he go into with my daughter? She's not old enough to go by herself. She's 5.
Yeah. And frankly, I wouldn't want any children being taken into men's public toilets. They're awful.
Yeah, it would make both him and her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So what's he supposed to do? I mean, he's disabled anyway, so he's able to use the disabled legs. No. So he's lucky in that regard. But if he wasn't, then what?
Yeah.
What about single dads who have small kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there are perfectly good reasons to do that. And it gets around any of these discussions then. Well, actually, no, it doesn't, because it would just be, oh, now all men are coming after us. It's just a toilet. And again, there's literally nothing stopping a cis man walking into a woman's toilet. There's no physical barrier that having the woman sign outside stops. It's not a magical defense against rape. It's not a thing.
I looked this up a little while ago. And there's 2 interesting things that I found out. 1, trans people are more than twice as likely to be attacked in a public bathroom than a cis woman is.
Yeah. That's
trans people in general.
That doesn't surprise. It's disgusting, but it doesn't surprise me, yeah.
And 2, a cis woman is more likely to be attacked in a bathroom by another cis woman than by either a trans person or a cis man.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Yeah.
It's you can't send trans women to women's prisons, right? That whole argument. But the problem with that is rapes happen in women's prisons without trans women in them.
Yeah.
There's a whole society built there on rape. In the UK too, people don't think so, but it really is. It's almost as bad here as it is in the US.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's disgusting, and it's one of the elements that's so blatant about rape culture. The way in which rape is essentially weaponized as a form of punishment for prisoners, as if they're not people.
Yeah, it's used to not only punish prisoners from wardens, but also used amongst prisoners to determine a form of social hierarchy.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It is absolutely disgusting, yeah. And people joke about it. It's a common thing you'll see people joking about. Awful shit.
Okay, get through the rest of this quickly. The consensus among progressives seems to be that feminists who are on J.K. Rowling's side of the argument are on the wrong side of history. Is this fair, or is there any merit in their argument? Let us be clear that the debate here is not between feminists and trans activists. There are trans-affirmative feminists, and many trans people are also committed feminists. So one clear problem is that the framing that acts as if the debate is between feminists and trans people, it is not. One reason to militate against this framing is because trans activism is linked to queer activism and to feminist legacies that remain very alive today. Feminism has always been committed to the proposition that the social meanings of what it is to be a man or woman are not yet settled. We tell histories about what it meant to be a woman at a certain time and place, and we track the transformation of those categories over time.
Yeah, and that's...
We depend... Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that you can tell the fact that she's called her out on the obvious bullshit of the framing there. Yeah, you can tell this person's a TERF, this AF, the questioner.
Oh yeah, she absolutely is a TERF. And on top of that, I love that Judith doesn't take any shit and points out leading questions.
Oh yeah, she's badass. Yeah. We depend on gender.
Yes, we depend on gender as a historical category, and that means we do not yet know all the ways it may come to signify, and we are open to new understandings of its social meanings. It would be a disaster for feminism to return either to a strictly biological understanding of gender, or to reduce social conduct to a woman to a body part, or to impose fearful fantasies, their own anxieties on trans women. Their abiding and very real sense of gender ought to be recognised socially and publicly as a relatively simple matter of according another human dignity. The trans-exclusionary radical feminist position attacks the dignity of trans people. In Gender Trouble, you asked whether by seeking to represent a particular idea of women, feminists participate in the same dynamics of oppression and heteronormativity that they are trying to shift. In light of all the bitter arguments playing out with feminism now, does the same still apply? As I remember the argument in Gender Trouble, written more than 30 years ago, the point was rather different. First, one does not have to be a woman to be a feminist, and we should not confuse the categories. Men who are feminists, non-binary and trans people who are feminists, are part of the movement if they hold to the basic propositions of freedom and equality that are part of any feminist political struggle. When laws and social policies represent women, they make tacit decisions about who counts as a woman, and very often make presuppositions about what a woman is. We have seen this in the domain of reproductive rights. So the question I was asking then is, do we need to have a settled idea of women, or of any gender, in order to advance feminist goals? I put the question this way to remind us that feminists are committed to thinking about the diverse and historically shifting meanings of gender, and to the ideals of gender freedom. By gender freedom, I do not mean that we all get to choose our gender, rather we get to make a political claim to live freely and without any fear of discrimination and violence against the genders that we are. Many people who are assigned female at birth never felt at home with that assignment, and those people, including me, tell all of us something important about the constraints of traditional gender norms for many who fall outside its terms. Feminists know that women with ambition are called monstrous, or that women who are not heterosexual are pathologized. We fight those misrepresentations because they are false, because they reflect more about the misogyny of those who make demeaning caricatures than they do about the complex social diversity of women. Women should not engage in the forms of phobic caricature by which they have been traditionally demeaned, and by women, I mean all those who identify in that way.
Can we just have a round of applause there? That's delicious. I don't know how you can possibly argue with that.
Oh, TERFs always find a way.
It's almost like they've got a preconceived notion in their heads, and no amount of argumentation will ever convince them.
You think? And this is brilliant. Watch as the interviewer pivots hideously. How much is toxicity on this issue a function of culture wars playing out online? I think we are living in anti-intellectual times, and that this is evident across the political spectrum. The quickness of social media allows for forms of vitriol that do not exactly support thoughtful debate. We need to cherish the longer course. This is the bit I was telling you about earlier. Threats of violence and abuse would seem to take these, quote, anti-intellectual times to an extreme. What do you have to say about violent or abusive language used online against people like J.K. Rowling? I am against online abuse of all kinds. I confess to being perplexed by the fact that you point out the abuse levelled against J.K. Rowling, but you do not cite the abuse against trans people and their allies that happens online and in person. I disagree with J.K. Rowling's views on trans people, but I do not think she should suffer harassment and threats. Let us also remember, though, the threats against trans people in places like Brazil, the harassment of trans people in the streets and on the job in places like Poland and Romania, or indeed right here in the US. So if we're going to object to harassment and threats, as we surely should, we should also make sure we have a large picture of where that is happening, who is most profoundly affected, and whether it is tolerated by those who should be opposing it. It won't do to say that threats against some people are tolerable, but against others are intolerable.
Yeah.
I love the consistency. It's great. So too many people these days are not consistent. And again, the interviewer pivots. You weren't a signatory to the open letter on cancel culture in Harper's this summer, but did its arguments resonate with you? I have mixed feelings about that. On the one hand, I'm an educator and writer, and I believe in slow and thoughtful debate. I learn from being confronted and challenged, and I accept that I have made some significant errors in my public life. If someone then said I should not be read or listened to as a result of those errors, well, I would object internally, since I don't think any mistake a person made can or should summarize that. We live in time, we err, sometimes seriously. And if we are lucky, we change precisely because of the interactions that let us see things differently. On the other hand, some of those signatories were taking aims at Black Lives Matter as if the loud and public opposition to racism were itself uncivilized behavior. Some of them have opposed legal rights for Palestine, others have allegedly committed sexual harassment, and yet others do not wish to be challenged on their racism. Democracy requires a good challenge, and it does not always arrive in soft tones. So I am not in favour of neutralising the strong political demands for justice on the part of subjugated people. When one has not been heard for decades, the cry for justice is bound to be loud. Which is just phenomenally put.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, I mean, to be fair, I believe people like Noam Chomsky came out afterwards and said that they didn't know who was going to be signing the letter. They thought it was just a general thing. And clearly it was like a right-wing stalking horse thing, right? So they were duped into being like the left-wing version of Candace Owens, if that makes sense. They were a token to be like, oh, see, we're politically neutral. We've even got Noam Chomsky. He's an evil communist, you know. Yeah. But yeah, undoubtedly that was written about like we're not allowed to be completely racist and have that go unchallenged on the internet anymore. It was whinging.
Sorry, Belle, if I have to answer a question, actually I'll just speak it, it's easier. Hellcat, I don't know. I don't know if it's checked against the electoral register or anything. What I would do, as horrible as this is going to feel, but for the sake of safety and making sure it counts, is I would use your dead name if it's your legal name. I know it's going to suck. I know it's going to feel as you are typing it out like you are carving your own guts out. I understand. I sympathize. But because I don't know the checks and balances they put in place, I don't know if they'll pay attention if you use your non-binary name. Hellcat responded with, don't worry, I just dead named myself for the cause.
Good. Okay.
That is one of the most wholesome things I have seen all day. Thank you for making my heart happy, Hellcat.
Yeah. See, but this is the thing. I know Hellcat's one of my viewers and stuff. And you're really nice to people who listen to you and watch you. I'm not. So I feel like I need to step in and be abusive toward them. Not literally abusive, just like shout at them or something.
Oh no, I can be an arsehole and I troll and meme something chronic, but it depends on the topic.
Yeah.
If it's something like this and it's something this serious, then the memes go out the window.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I do occasionally slip into sincerity myself. I try to avoid it whenever possible, but yeah.
Well, you would, you know.
I am. I don't get. Hang on. I don't get this northern thing. You're from Ireland. I'm sorry. When I
first moved over here, I lived in Brighton for a couple of years.
My father is Irish. I get to say this. This isn't bigotry. The people of Ireland are like Northerners plus. Okay, I've seen them. I know what they're like. They're fucking mental.
When I first moved over, I lived in Brighton for a couple of years. I was 17 and I used to get beaten up for sounding Irish.
Oh, God. Oh.
So I code switched and I went posh and southern.
Whereas no, you're just very neutral.
At the moment I am, yeah, because I'm talking to you. It depends on who I'm talking to as to what my accent is these days. Like if I'm talking to somebody from back home, I'm very, very Irish. If I'm talking to somebody from the south, I'm very proper. like Buckinghamshire almost.
Oh, very posh.
But if my other half gets tired and he slips into his northern, he's from Lincolnshire.
Oh, that's proper northern, yeah.
Yeah, if he slips into his northern, I'll be calling everybody duck. And going down to pub.
You're out, love.
And up north with fields and that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he hates it because he thinks I'm taking a piss out of him, but I can't help it.
Yeah.
I'm not. I can't help it.
Yeah.
All right, that was taken.
Get yourself to
right, let's finish this bloody article. This year you published The Force of Nonviolence. Does the idea of radical equality, which you discuss in the book, have any relevance for the feminist movement? My point in the recent book is to suggest that we rethink equality in terms of interdependency. We tend to say that one person should be treated the same as another, and we measure whether or not equality has been achieved by comparing individual cases. But what if the individual and individualism is part of the problem? It makes a difference to understand ourselves as living in a world in which we are fundamentally dependent on others, on institutions, on the earth, and to see that this life depends on a sustaining organization for various forms of life. If no one escapes that interdependency, then we are equal. Sorry, my dog sound is nuts again. He does that a lot. He's not muted, so he sits on himself all the time.
Oh, bless.
If no one escapes that interdependency, then we are equal in a different sense. We are equally dependent, that is, equally social and ecological. And that means we cease to understand ourselves only as demarcated individuals. If trans-exclusionary radical feminists understood themselves as sharing a world with trans people in a common struggle for equality, freedom from violence and for social recognition, there would be no more trans-exclusionary radical feminists, but feminism will surely survive as a coalitional practice and vision of solidarity. You've spoken out about the backlash against gender ideology and wrote an essay for the New Statesman about it in 2019. Do you see any connection between this and contemporary debates about trans rights? It is painful to see that Trump's position that gender should be defined by biological sex and that the evangelical and right-wing Catholic effort to purge gender from education and public policy accords with the trans-exclusionary radical feminists return to biological essentialism.
Oh, shots fired.
It is a sad day when some feminists promote the anti-gender ideology position of the most reactionary forces in our society.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that she's like, yeah, no, I blame Catholicism. Because as somebody who grew up Catholic, yeah, no, all of that.
Well, not just that, but all these far-right pieces of shit, they're just like TERFs. Which is true. Yeah, good. Someone say it, yeah.
Okay. What do you think would break this impasse in feminism over trans? What would lead to a more constructive debate? I suppose a debate, were it possible, would have to reconsider the ways in which the medical determination of sex functions in relation to the lived and historical reality of gender. And the asterisk by her name further up is because they/she are also non-binary and go by she or they pronouns.
Oh, well, there you go.
But she, for E, still describes herself as a woman a lot of the time, even like a non-binary woman.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I've always taken it as if someone says that they're this thing, just call them that thing. What difference does it fucking matter to you? Like it's so silly to me that you would be offended by that. I don't know how they think that trans people erase women. What fucking sense does that make?
None, literally none.
Yeah. Anyway, so. Have we moved?
Yeah, I was going to say you had a couple of other things you wanted to go over, didn't you?
Yes, we've got the Posie Parker woman I mentioned earlier, which we segued away from. She was arrested. Now, she was arrested for organising a protest in Leeds, which again is proper northern.
Oh yes.
No fucking around.
Leeds.
Aye. She went up north to do a protest, and she got arrested because it breaks COVID restrictions, right? And this is what these dickheads are comparing her to the suffragettes now. She was.
Do you want to share your screen with the dude?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Apologies. Yes, I'd forgotten we were even doing that. Yeah.
No worries.
There we go. Right. So that was her being arrested in Leeds, gently being led away by the police. They drove her like 20 minutes away to the police station. They just released her. Right? It was just because you were breaking COVID restrictions. Look, you can argue the rights and wrongs of that and the fact that the UK government apply it inconsistently. She's not a suffragette. Don't be fucking stupid. Okay? She was even allowed to have her phone on her, and she live streamed on Instagram or something. Live streamed from inside the police van. So she wasn't even really being silenced. It was really silly. But in case anyone didn't fully understand quite how awful she is as a person, if you feel slightly sorry for her in any way whatsoever,
please don't. She's a massive fucking turd.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, well, I'm just about to show you, I think, a prime cut of her bigotry here. Apologies in advance for this. Yeah, so for anyone trying to paint Posie Parker as some poor little freedom of speech martyr, this is what she said. Quote, "Women who call themselves men should be sterilised."
Frankly, a lot of them want to be.
Yeah, but I think she rather means forcibly. Yeah. Yeah, so she's real violent garbage.
She can get in the sea.
Yes, indeed. So a suffragette, she ain't. Anyway, so
well, the suffragettes, I mean, were also kind of garbage, right?
Well, they were kind of garbage.
For women's rights to a point, but
yeah,
I mean, they
absolutely, but they
for rich women's rights.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm not suggesting they were perfect by any means, but they actually put shit on the line, to be fair to them. Like, they actually went on a hunger strike and did some gnarly shit. Whereas Posie Parker turned up to do a grift in Leeds. That's not really the same thing. And arguably, I would suggest that Posie Parker is probably worse on many issues than the suffragettes, who were around 150 fucking years ago. Like, that doesn't speak well to her at all. But anyway, she was released, so it's not a problem. The TERF's trying to grift off this garbage. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, yes, the last thing we wanted to take a look at, and this might take a little bit to get through, because this is intense.
Let me just change my title.
Yeah. Are you aware of Arielle Scarcella?
Oh, I know very well who Arielle Scarcella is.
Yes.
Well, I can't. I think she has me blocked on Twitter after I went after her for TERF.
Yeah, well, I've never talked to her before. She blocked me on Twitter, so okay. She's the ultimate example of a person who, quote unquote, left the left. Right? She now does.
Yeah, I'm aware of the leaving the left part. I'm also aware that she's a lesbian token for the right.
Indeed, she's a lesbian who now shills for Trump, which is interesting. Good job on being erased by the person you want to be president, you fucking idiot. Yes, and so she got together with some of her horrifically right-wing friends and put this video together called "Trans Activists Want to Erase Women," which is a collaboration of sorts between her and some other people, which I thought would be good to take a look at. So, should we do that?
Yes, just give me 1 second. I have to deal with something in the chat.
Okay.
Hey, Base Liberty, if you're going to come in and troll, try something more original than jumping in with Trump 2020. If you're going to troll, at least try and be amusing. I get that so often, it's just don't now. Try harder.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, so let's listen to this nonsense, shall we? It's a good expose of basic TERF arguments, basically.
What is a woman? Some people say that it's
to do that. Yep, go for it. I am
somebody who's female. Others say that it's someone that presents as one. And to the people that are currently hating on me, they say a woman is simply anyone that identifies as one. And over the last 3 years, I've had all three of these different views, and now I don't believe in any of them. Now I think of it very differently, and I think I found the way to connect all women, trans and not trans, to understand each other's experiences. Here's where I'm at with all this. Being a man or a woman is not an identity. It's an experience. We experience gender in 4 different ways: mentally, physically, emotionally, socially. Someone who was born male that has gender dysphoria and mentally aligns with being a woman, but hasn't physically or socially transitioned, only has one of those 4 components. And
yeah, so basically she's true scum. Hello?
Yeah, I'm very aware. Sorry, I muted myself so I wouldn't get an echo from your audio.
Oh, apologies. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, she's doing true scum, trans-medicalist nonsense. Yeah, which is wrong. Very, very wrong.
To me, suggesting that that is all being a woman is invalidating to women that have 2, 3, or even 4 out of 4. But the same goes for the other side as well. Someone saying that trans women that have gender dysphoria aren't experiencing womanhood in any sense of the word is also untrue. They have that mental aspect, the 1/4, that usually leads to them transitioning in the first.
How satisfying is Pizza Hut's original pan pizza? It's more satisfying than this.
Oh, for God's sake. It's alright. Come on.
Woman has to have a definition. There has to be something around that where people...
Fucking Rose of Dawn. Do you know this one?
Yeah, I know Rose of Dawn as well. She's cringe.
Yeah, very, very cringe.
Can anchor themselves into the idea of what a woman is. Not every single trans woman is going to hit that magical marker of being recognized as a woman, but that does not mean that it should be thrown away just to appease a particular group of people. That's simply not fair, and it's not reasonable. A lot of trans women like myself can go out and be considered as women because we generally look like women, like we act like women, we are seen by people around the world.
That's such a disgusting view of womanhood, that there's a certain way you have to look or act in order to be a woman. What a reductive...
Acting privilege is a thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's not just that, but it's the idea that these motherfuckers can call themselves gender critical. They're the least critical of gender of any people in the world. They're literally saying...
What they're doing is reinforcing historical and traditional gender roles.
Yeah, there is a box that you have to fit in.
Entirely tokens.
Yeah. There's a box you have to fit in to count. What about, like, you know, butch cis women? Does that not count? Are they not women? The fuck? Mad.
As being women. There is no need to redefine anything about being a woman or act as though it's some sort of magical void that only requires people to say that they are women in order to hit it. If that is the case, then transitioning as a trans woman is completely pointless. There's no need for us to do anything, and as a result, that just lets us suffer in our...
Hang on, pause it. Oh, that's made me angry. So, the whole point of gender abolition and gender liberation as a thing is that it shifts and gets rid of the expected and pushed gender roles and societal expectations, right? That's what people want to deconstruct, not the labels themselves, not how people want to present or change themselves to present, right? You can present however the fuck along that spectrum you want. Nobody cares. You can call yourself whatever the fuck you want. Nobody cares. What we want is for anybody to be allowed to dress and present and look the way they want to without fucking reactionary whack badgers like Rose of Dawn telling people what they can and cannot do with their bodies.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And to Phoenix in my chat, you are absolutely valid and absolutely correct. Butch women are goddesses.
Yeah. They're happy being butch, let them be butch.
Quite.
I myself would, if I was cis, would be described as butch.
Indeed. Well, exactly. Just let people be what they want to fucking be. I mean, look, it's anyone else's business. Anyway.
Our dysphoria.
And yeah, Kanuya in my chat pointed out something very reasonable and obvious, actually, that I should have pointed out, which is not everybody has the access to transition.
Yeah.
To the healthcare and what have you. Like, not everybody can.
Especially in America, of course, where it's literally all private, because there's no real public option for anything. Not that I'm saying it's okay in the UK. I understand there are issues there, but there are countries in the world where
hard.
I mean, there are countries where they don't even have that service available because of poverty. Literally, like, it's not available in the country. So,
and the thing is, if you're non-binary and you want to transition in the UK, you have to basically lie.
Yeah.
And say you're going the full hog to the like opposite end of the spectrum, which is just not something that you should have to do.
Yeah. No, absolutely, you shouldn't have to do it. It's disgusting. Literally, yeah, the legal system sees it as you're either a completely 100% woman, or a completely man. And if you're anything in between, then that's not good enough. You don't get to transition. Like, what? It's disgusting. It really is. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel the need to point something out, like, really obviously right now. Number one, femboys are valid.
Yes.
Like, their identities, their gender expression are completely valid. Butch women are utterly, completely valid. Non-binary people who are non-binary women or non-binary men are valid. Agender people are valid. Gender fluid people are valid. Trans women, trans men, cis women, cis men are all valid.
Indeed. Here.
Have a definition of what there is to be a woman if we are to transition to be women. If we're just seen as women, then that's perfectly fine. We try and fit it as much as we can. We do not try and tear it down.
The defining feature of being trans is gender dysphoria. It's not some kind of wonderful ideological identity.
I'm not Daisy Cousins.
Yeah, she's fucking awful. She really is. Like,
funnily enough, Chud Logic, I think, was going over this exact video earlier.
Okay. Well, they probably did a better job than I did. But anyway.
Daisy Cousins' video that this was lifted from.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. I'm with you. Yeah, I think it's the one that's advertised in the sidebar there. So thank you, YouTube. Your algorithm can suck all of me. Anyway, yes. As you can tell, she's got a MAGA hat and a Louder with Crowder mug. That gives you a fair idea. But yeah, obviously I've seen this video before. Daisy goes on to try and make arguments about this being demeaning to cis people, to trans people as well, who've transitioned and stuff. The general true
she's right. What the fuck she's talking about?
But the idea that she's opposed to offending or being rude to trans women is ridiculous, considering she's a Milo Yiannopoulos stan.
Don't. Speaking of, right, I just had somebody in my chat came in initially, another one of those Trump 2020 fucking memes, and I was like, again, be more creative. Okay then, 2024. And I went, yeah, I've had that one too.
Well, at least they tried.
Yeah. And Hal the Cat was like, if your Fash Daddy got re-elected, why would there be any future elections? Yeah, there shall never be other president, only Fash Daddy, apparently.
Probably, although he is old and he is mortal, regardless of what his fans think. So hopefully he will be terms of service. I can't say what I want to say there, but you might understand.
There's more. So when I went off on my rant about like different genders and presentations and trans people,
yeah, they
popped into chat. Whoa, that's gay. That's gay being in all caps. And I went, no, it's trans, you twat. Gay, homosexual, both in caps. And I went, no, I'm pansexual. I think I've chased them off with accuracy.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've fried their brains with the words they don't know.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Again, if you're still here, I eat Flex Seal. At least try and be amusing. Otherwise, you're just going to get banned because I can't be asked with the same talking points I have heard over and over and over and over and over again.
But that's
do
all,
something new.
That's all right-wingers have. I mean, I was covering the cancel con bullshit with Shapiro and Rubin and all those dickheads. And it was literally just a regurgitation of the same points that they've been saying for the last 5-10 years. There's nothing new there.
How is boredom triggered, you blithering moron?
They're still saying triggered. Oh, come on now. It's nearly 2021. Come on.
The only person who's triggered is the person who starts spamming in chat, oh, that's gay. because someone finds expression, like gender expression and gender identity, to be pretty fucking fluid and whatever people want to be.
Yeah, but you can tell that they're definitely comfortable in their sexuality when they go around going gay at everything. That's definitely
Oh yeah,
true.
definitely in the closet.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely in the closet.
Exactly. Look, dude, just go and suck a dick, man. You'll love it. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
You might find out something strange, and it'll be uncomfortable at first, but you might just find that it's very, very tasty. Go for it.
I wasn't ready for that yet, Felix. I was playing with the troll.
Well,
His last thing before one of my mods banned him was, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. I grew up Catholic. I've heard that.
yeah. That's not exactly a new one.
Please don't be balls deep in homophobia and don't dead name Eve. Lynn, you legend.
Exactly.
Ooh. Go ahead with the video. I'm going to giggle about that for a little while.
Thing, which is what radical trans activists have flippantly and quite damagingly painted it as. It is a condition that causes huge distress to people who suffer from it, which is why transgenders are so damn disrespectful.
Transgenders don't exist.
Yeah, they're not a thing. That's a made-up thing, Daisy. You stupid twat. That's not it's not real.
It's just a myth.
Yeah.
They have no clue and just want attention. So as such, there is nothing so blatantly disrespectful to women and to trans women than some bloke who makes zero attempt to present as female, insisting on being referred to as a woman, demanding access.
Fuck off.
Yeah, the idea, like I say, that a Milo Yiannopoulos stan can sit here, or stand here, whatever, and argue that something is disrespectful to trans women, and that's a bad thing, is hypocritical garbage. I'm sorry, I don't take you seriously, Daisy. That's nonsense.
They don't care about being hypocrites, right? Number one. But number two, right? Even more so than that, what really fucks me off is this assumption that A, trans women don't want to pass, B, that passing actually fucking means anything, and C, that you have to look like a woman to be a woman. What about women, cis women, who don't look like women? What about cis women with fucking hormonal imbalances that means that they grow a fucking beard?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is where ultimately where TERF ideology leads. I don't know how closely you follow sport or anything, but the fantastic South African...
Oh, yeah, I know the whole thing.
...middle distance runner, Caster Semenya, Olympic champion, which is not replete for South Africa, you know, and actually it's only 3 people this has affected, all of whom are black. Cal surprise. Systemic racism is a thing across the board, it seems. Anyway, Caster Semenya is a cis woman with an abnormally high level of testosterone in her bloodstream, and she's now been banned from competition.
Oh yeah,
because
I read about that.
TERFs want to include some limit on the amount of testosterone. Now, if she were doping her blood with testosterone, I could understand that. But she has a natural inbuilt physical advantage in athletic sport because she's got more testosterone naturally. So it's disgusting to me that they would. This is where TERF ideology leads. It hurts cis women as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it absolutely does. Like, this is the thing that I've been saying for fucking years, right? I have been saying the more and more that cis people push these narratives, the more and more cis people will end up affected. And it's really infuriating that they can't even see the collateral damage from their own friendly. Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't smiling at what you were saying then. Someone called me a human potato, and that made me smile. Sorry. Yeah. I did, just in case people watching that back were thinking that I thought what you said was funny, which it wasn't. Obviously, it's a very serious point. But anyway, yes.
This is who, chat, just so you all know, this is who one of his moderators was calling a human potato.
Yeah, that's the Utah Outcast, by the way. very good allies, good folk who do humanist content out of Utah, which is not necessarily known for that. So go and subscribe to them. They're very good.
I will check them out. Are they just on YouTube or are they on Twitch as well?
They're on YouTube. They're on. They do like a podcast. I don't know if they're on Twitch. Shout yourselves out, Utah outcasts. Go for it. Spam your shit in the fucking chat. Anyway, but yeah, they're very good.
Do your what's name? Yeah.
Anyway, well, while I do that, we'll get on with Daisy Cousins talking shit.
As to women-only spaces and then calling anyone who questions him a bigot. It is a slap in the face to trans women who do go to all the effort of at least attempting to live and present as a woman, even if they haven't been able to have hormones.
Except gender isn't binary.
No.
Oh, fuck, this annoys me.
Yeah. If you want to dip out at any point, if it gets too much for you, that's cool. I'm not going to... Just, I don't want... Like, I understand... As a cis person, I can have a certain cool detachment from the situation, but obviously you've got a bit more skin in the game, so to speak.
The angrier I get, the funnier I get.
Are you like my father, who speaks in a relatively mild Irish accent until he gets angry or drunk, and then becomes the most like a drunk slurring in the doorway of a bar in Dublin, like just the most Irish you've ever heard?
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I don't drink anymore.
Fair enough. Anyway, I don't know who this person
used
is.
To just be the casual word for adult human female, but as the concept of gender identity outside of sex became more prevalent and commonplace in conversations, the word woman sort of lost its meaning and became this descriptionless label that pretty much anyone could ascribe to themselves if they felt like it.
I'm the perfect trifecta of difficultness, being...
Can I just point out that person going on about what being a woman used to be? You've got tattoos and stuff and like piercings in your face. That's not seen as traditionally feminine attire.
Also, you're literally wearing plaid, which is the biggest I'm either non-binary, a trans guy, or a lesbian flag out there.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I'm not saying that to delegitimize her in any way. I'm just saying that you can't appeal to tradition whilst being untraditional. It's just hypocritical shit. Stop it. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. Anyway.
They felt like it.
I'm the perfect trifecta of difficultness, being lesbian, black, and trans. The most difficult of the three, honestly, is being lesbian. Trans is right after that. And the reason I say that is because we aren't heard. We're never a topic of conversation. We're never a part of the conversation. And where trans comes into play is where a person said...
Look at the picture they've decided to use there.
No.
You know exactly what they're doing.
I know who that is.
Right.
She's a performer who does identify as a woman, but is quite happy to let her beard grow.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and that's the point. That's fine. I don't see that as an issue. But they're specifically using the image of, oh, look, it's a bloke in a dress because they've got a beard. There are cis women who have beards. It's relatively rare. It's certainly much rarer than not, but it happens.
Yeah.
It's just such bigoted shit. They know exactly what they're doing. This is propaganda. This isn't argumentation on any level.
Such as Alex Sherman, who has literally gone through none of the transitional phase of being a trans woman, except for the fact that they just are declaring that they are a trans woman, to identify as a lesbian. That's really offensive to me and to other lesbians. If you have literally no secondary sex characteristics of a female, then how can you consider yourself a lesbian? And how can you consider yourself a trans woman? The fact that you can present as male and identify as a trans woman and then declare yourself a lesbian. That is absolutely absurd, guys.
Well, no, I mean, these are all socially constructed things. And relatively arbitrary if you're looking from a historical point of view. You can make these things mean whatever we want them to mean. Now, we should all have a basic concept of what these things mean. But again, that changes over time. What we now see as gender was completely different back in the past. There are places like in India, there's like the third gender thing they have, which has always been a part of their culture, which the British tried to fucking stamp out. It's just nonsense when you try and put these absolutist labels. You have to be X in order to be this thing. You know, it's disgusting to me, but.
I mean, just because a trans woman isn't doesn't have gender dysphoria over her beard, does not mean she's not trans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nonsense. Anyway,
for someone to say that there's something with literally none of the experience.
Wait, we have a transfer. Hang on.
Nope.
Okay, JC Gorgon, I'll bite. What do you mean there's no bottom to it because it's psychological?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they came in with, it's an infinite series of rabbit holes. And what is? Gender theory. There's no bottom to it because it's psychological.
Why does there have to be, I mean, I don't even know what they mean by bottom, but why does there need to be any bottom to anything?
Yeah. So, first of all, how do you mean psychological? Second of all, why does anything need to have a bottom in this instance? Because we're forever learning and developing anyway. Science is forever learning and developing.
Well, I mean...
And thirdly, gender isn't just a theory, okay? There's no such thing as gender theory really anymore. It's called gender studies, because science now recognizes several genders, because science is aware that both sex, to a lesser extent, and gender, to a greater extent, are spectrums.
Yeah.
Spectra, sorry.
Well, in terms of what needs a bottom, generally speaking, a gay relationship.
Hey,
bottom.
I will never say no to a good bottom every now and then.
There you go. Lovely stuff.
I am very much a top. I don't know if you can hear, but the other half is behind me going, hey.
I can, yes, I picked that up. Yes. Anyway. Right, yes, let's try and desperately get through this. Jesus.
Oh, wait. Theory is a scientific term. Yes, it is, but it's not used in relation to gender anymore, you blithering fucknut.
Oh.
Try again.
But they're starting to sound like the creationists now.
Oh,
it's just a theory.
If they start using creationist arguments, I might do something against TOS.
Gender theory is just a theory.
Yeah, I'll do something against TOS if they start with fucking creationist arguments. Fuck me.
Well, gender's only 6,000 years old anyway, so...
Not even.
No, I was doing a combination of creationism and...
yes.
Nonsense.
But, trans women have existed and non-binary people... trans people and non-binary people have existed since ancient Greece, if not beforehand. Yes. Ancient Greece is the earliest date we have of it so far.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It's again we can make these things mean whatever the fuck we want them to mean. They're social constructs. Humans made them. There's nothing intrinsic about these things. Anyway.
Not to mention how dismissive it is of biological women, as if our discomfort at seeing people who look very much like men waltzing through the doors of our change rooms or our bathroom is linked to bigotry, and that we need to suck it up for the sake of people's feelings.
Listen.
Well, hang on. What's stopping again? But again, though, what is stopping that from happening now?
I mean,
the sign on the door doesn't magically stop cis men walking into the toilets.
Yeah, and also I'm pretty sure she wouldn't like it if I started calling her he and him.
Yeah, but she couldn't complain because, again, as a Milo stan, misgendering's just funny. Are you triggered, bro? You know. Rubbish. Also, are you aware of this person on the screen?
Oh, yeah.
Carolyn
I know who she
Borisenko.
is.
She's
yeah.
fucking garbage. But in this video, she takes it to a new level because she's a psychologist who doesn't seem to understand how humans work. Which is fun.
As a psychologist, I don't really care how you present, I don't care how you identify, it's not my place to judge, it's not my experience. But when trans women make the choice to present with overtly masculine features, when they make that choice, I have to question why. So if we set aside all...
I wonder, Carolyn, why would a trans person identify in that way? Because they're comfortable doing so. It's what they identify as. Why, as you as a psychologist, why can't you fucking understand that? You have to question why. It's because that's what they're comfortable with. It's a very simple answer. Ugh.
I can't with her. She's so fucking stupid.
She's profoundly idiotic, yes.
Did you see the thing? She was like, oh, I went to Dunkin' Donuts to get a donut and a coffee and they fucked my order up. So I went across town to get another coffee and donut because fuck the millennials, they don't know how to work. They're just lazy.
Yeah, she's
Sorry, what?
She's full of shit, yeah. And she makes stuff up anyway. She got kicked out of a hotel in Wisconsin, in America. And quite rightly she was kicked out because she was causing trouble and breaking rules and stuff. And she tried to play the victim off it. She's awful, awful person.
She is... Her name is Carolyn, but she's a Karen through and through.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You can remove the L from that name, yeah.
Oh, yeah. She is absolutely a Karen.
All the medical reasons why that might happen, there are a few psychological reasons that come to mind. First, it might be a comfort thing, like having that comfort blanket when you're a kid. Maybe you're stepping into your new self and this is very exciting, but you want to retain a little part of that old you and you've always had a beard and it's just the way it is. Another reason might be fear. Fear of not being able to be accepted as a natal woman. And in fact, we know this is the case.
A natal woman. A natal woman. Have you ever heard a newborn baby described in that way?
No.
How creepy is that? A natal, not a newborn girl or a newborn boy or whatever, which is again slightly strange to the assigned at birth thing, but a natal woman. Are you giving birth to women? What?
Oh yeah, they come out the size they are and they just stay that size. They don't.
Well, exactly, yeah.
That's how TERFs happen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, that's such a creepy description. A natal woman. Fucking hell. Anyway.
With Alex Drummond, because she gave an interview to BuzzFeed where she said, I was aware that I was unlikely to ever pass as a natal female, so I wanted to do is see if I could create another space, and I did it in a very radical way.
I'm Kitty Demure, drag queen. I am not a trans woman. I am not a biological woman. I am a gay man who dresses up as a woman for entertainment. It really bothers me when I see that I actually work harder at being a woman than some trans women do.
No, you don't. You put on a wig and makeup. That's fine, by the way. You do you. But that's not putting more effort into being a woman. That's being a stereotype, which again is fine if you want to do that. But that's not putting effort into being a woman.
That's putting effort into fitting into the box of womanhood.
Yeah, that's putting effort into being a drag queen. And again, you do you. But trans women are women. There's no amount of putting effort in that's involved there, unless you have this absolute stereotype of you have to do this, this, and this to be a woman, which is ridiculous. And by the way, putting effort into being a woman suggests that there are things one can do to become a woman, which means that it's not immovable. It's not an innate characteristic. Because if you put on makeup, that makes you a woman, somehow. It's almost like these people don't have any kind of joined up thinking whatsoever.
So that transphobe in chat just responded, finally.
Oh, okay. What's the bottom?
Not so much of a bottom. So they started with, what's the difference between Rachel Dolezal and woman face? Blackface is wrong because appropriating the physical features of someone you're not, especially those of a group that is disadvantaged compared to your own, is theft of identity. Right. Fuck knuckle. Here we go. You can look as manly as you want. You can be an uncracked egg yet completely unaware that you are, in fact, a transgender woman. But you know what you are, even if you don't know it? You're a woman.
Yeah.
You just are. That's the way it works. I sincerely suggest you go and read both gender theory books, the gender theory and gender studies books by, what's her last name again? Judith
Butler.
Butler, that's the bunny. And pretty much anything else you can find that is recognized as sources for gender studies courses. And yes, not every woman wears dresses. Not every woman wears makeup. They are still women. Not every woman can have a child. There is no definite definition of a woman. There is no thing that defines a woman. There just isn't.
Yeah.
A woman is someone who decides and feels like they are a woman. And that's fine. That's how it should be. I don't feel like I'm either binary. I'm somewhere in the middle with a slightly masculine in terms of how I like to present myself clothing-wise. But I have the body form of a woman.
Yeah. Well, if I can offer a more straightforward answer, it would be transgender is a thing, transracial is not a thing.
I don't have an opinion on transracial other than it seems a bit yikes because I don't know enough about it, personally.
Okay. Well, I mean, can't claim to be an expert, but I know that in the medical field, it's not remotely seen as anything serious.
Oh, yeah. In the medical field, it's completely dismissed as it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is the best we can do right now as a layman in terms of medical issues. I look to the medical field and they go, nah, it's bollocks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with that then.
JC Gorgon, the next thing you better put in chat is one of two things. One, it's either Black Lives Matter or trans rights are human rights, or you're getting banned. Or two, you stop drawing a false equivalence between colour and gender because they're different. They're just fundamentally different things.
Yeah.
There is a difference between culture and cultural appropriation of an ethnicity, particularly an oppressed and historically severely abused ethnicity, and being transgender. There's just a difference.
Yeah. Indeed.
I'm not sure everybody will be able to answer it, but if you come closer, everybody can hear it. Someone might be able to answer it.
It's more rhetorical.
We'll come a bit closer so we can hear you anyway.
I'm not sure it's a good point to make. It's just a thought that occurs. But if you're born with two black parents, but you are born with light skin, and you live your life in accordance with black culture, because that is the way you're raised, aren't you guilty of bigotry? That's kind of my question.
No.
I don't think so, no.
And likewise, if you're born to one parent from that dark skin, and you live in accordance with white culture, is that an act of bigotry, or is it being I mean, I don't understand what I mean by translation. I suppose you can
look up who Rachel Dolls is.
I know who she is.
White people who decide to darken their skin and identify as.
Is that Jeff Boycott speaking? I can't tell.
No, it's my other half, but he does sound a bit like Jeff Boycott.
He does.
Careful, you're Jeffrey Boycott.
My granny could hit that with a cricket stump. Look at that, it's come down the corridor of uncertainty and he's just whiffed at it.
Nice. I like your partner. They know cricket stuff. That's good.
Yeah, he's mad into cricket.
As they should be.
Fred Truman.
Anyway.
Oh, we've got more trolls. Hold on. What is it, Boo? Are you triggered by the fact that I actually have some sort of control over my chat and I ban people who fucking annoy me? Bless the little snowflake who can't take one of his allies being banned for being transphobic. And as for you, Lou, shut the fuck up. My rules are obvious, they are clear when you enter. If you're a bigot and being a transphobic shitbag, you get banned.
Yeah.
If it's a shit chat, Boo, why are you here? I don't have to click a ban button. You can click the little X in the top right-hand corner on your screen, you dipshit.
Ah, yes. As a person in my chat mentions, transracial does have a different specific meaning, which is a thing, which I think is what your partner was trying to get at, which was the idea of, like, say, a white kid raised by a black family and being raised in a more traditionally black cultured way. Which that is a thing, obviously. But when we say transracialism,
right?
Yeah.
That is that's kind of particularly when it's the other way around, because it's more often a black kid adopted by white parents than a white kid adopted by black parents, right?
Yeah.
It's 9 times out of 10 cultural genocide. That's what that is. It is a form of accidental but cultural genocide.
Okay, no, but I was just adding the nuance that when I say transracial isn't a thing, I don't mean that thing that's being described. I mean the Rachel Dolezal, which is essentially long-form blackface. Yeah, that isn't like an actual psychological thing or whatever. That's just someone being a prick. And not just that, but taking away opportunities from black people. Because, of course, she worked for the NAACP for many years as a black person when she wasn't a black person. She took that opportunity from someone.
She did.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, let's get through this. Let's listen to the drag queen talk shit for a bit. By the way, this drag queen has no neck. Sorry, it's not an issue. I shouldn't point that out. It's just a thing.
I think you should always present as the sex that you claim to be.
Sex and gender are not the same thing.
Stop. Oh, right, I'm going to go off on one. Hang on.
Okay.
Right. Nobody claims to be a sex other than the one that they were told they were at birth, that their genitals assigned to. Right? No one. What people claim to be is a different gender. What they are is a different gender. Present as what you claim to be and what you are. You claim to be a gay man who dresses up as a woman to perform. Why are you dressed up as a... Oh, hang on. That particular troll, no commies in America, is a blithering bellend.
Yeah, that person
who doesn't realise that Breonna Taylor was a fucking paramedic.
Yep.
Who has never, ever, ever had any charges or arrests against her, ever.
Yeah. No, I've
Try again, you ignorant cock.
Yeah, they've been blocked. That's that taken care of.
I hope they come into my chat so I shit on them somewhere.
Yeah. Indeed. Well, indeed, yeah. And as someone pointed out, the Kitty Demure, this person, is saying you should always identify as the sex that you are, as a cis man dressed up as a woman.
The irony and hypocrisy is palpable.
Yeah, like you've literally just erased the concept of drag by saying that, Kitty. Bit silly. Bit stupid. Anyway, should we continue?
I don't understand why you wouldn't. I don't understand why you'd want to continue looking like a man but call yourself a woman. And when you do that, you don't garner the respect from society.
But it seems to be quite interesting that those who...
Okay, but I mean, why should they have to want respect from society? I mean, I understand generally you want respect, but why should you have to change who you are because society's bigoted? That doesn't seem like a particularly adult approach to the world, but whatever.
Boo, that's not what a transvestite is. I suggest you go look up what the word means. Transvestite is not the same as transgender.
No.
Who push these kinds of narratives are the ones who are least impacted by the idea of woman being completely dismantled anyway. You're looking at men who are just trying to be good trans allies, but also biological women who are non-binary, who have absolutely no intention of ever being considered as women, but they will still try and push that almost as a way of deconstructing what gender is. And then you have the trans women who are completely lazy and think it's their role, their job, to redefine woman, that by growing a massive...
Okay, but, I mean, even if you want to dismiss all of those people, there are lots of cis women who also believe that. Who, according to your definition here, Rose, as a trans person, their views mean more than yours, apparently. So maybe you should shut up and stop.
Rose of Dawn has an enormous amount of internalized transphobia going on. It's actually sad.
Yeah, well, it is pathetic to see. It's a shame that this person's damaged in this way, and that's precisely what it is. Because, like I say, they're essentially shitting on themselves here by saying, oh, well, you know, it's only cis women who should care about any of this. But there are lots of cis women who want gender to be deconstructed. So you shouldn't trans-splain to them? Is that a thing? Anyway.
It fucking is now.
Yeah.
Maybe token-splain in this instance.
Yeah, well, indeed, yes. Yeah.
Okay, I just have to make a point to a troll in my chat who apparently doesn't know how words work.
Okay.
So he is conflating transvestite with transgender. Here is the definition of transvestite. A person, typically a man, who derives pleasure from dressing in clothes primarily associated with the opposite sex. Here is the definition for transgender. Denoting or relating to a person whose sense of personal identity and gender does not correspond with their birth sex. For one, it is a sex thing. For the other, it is these parts, this body is not who I am. This gender that people keep saying I am is not what I am. That's the difference. Read a fucking dictionary.
Yeah. As someone points out, a transvestite can very much continue to call themselves cis.
Yeah, transvestites usually are cis.
Yeah.
Like, Eddie Izzard used to identify as a transvestite.
Yeah.
Because he used to find pleasure in dressing, although not sexual pleasure. He used to find pleasure, it used to make him happy to dress in women's clothes.
Yeah.
They now realise, they or he, I can't remember his or their pronouns, identify as non-binary.
Yeah. And good for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been
I mean,
they're
they're what, 50s, 60s?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. They've been on a very public journey with their gender expression for a long time. Including, like you say, going on stage as, at that point, represented cis man in traditionally women's clothing on a stage full of, you know, an audience of tens of thousands of people.
He had some fabulous styles back in the day.
Yes, indeed.
He once wore this short red kimono with gold thread.
Yes, I remember that.
And these like knee-high black leather boots. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. And was doing that shit before it was like vaguely like you can do that now in a way that you couldn't then because of trailblazers like them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like back in the early 90s they were doing that shit. Which is pretty badass. Anyway, let's listen to Rose talk shite.
Beard and looking like a big burly bloke, they are somehow queering the agenda when it comes to being a woman. Like, that makes any kind of sense. Like, that is going to help us be accepted in society. We know what a woman is. In general, a woman is a biological adult human female.
Woman
Oh, that's such a scummy thing for a trans person to say. I mean, it's bad when a cis person says it.
She's basically just said she herself is not a woman.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, we need to stop thinking like, let's throw these people under the bus because it won't help the rest of us get accepted.
Well, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, Rose wants to placate bigots because they want to be seen as one of the good ones.
But this is exactly what lesbians are doing. They're throwing trans people under the bus to make sure they get everything that they feel like they should be getting. Because obviously if trans person are a thing, they're so wild in comparison to lesbians, they can't possibly like legitimize the LGBTQ plus movement.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Indeed.
Notes a range of experiences is intrinsic to someone who lives and presents as a woman. You can't just look like a man and then claim to be a woman and expect people to take you seriously.
Because there's only one way to look like a woman, apparently.
Be one.
Yeah. Well, that's the literal answer, but I mean, Daisy thinks that, as you can literally say, wearing flowery dresses means you're a woman, and that's it. Which is the understanding of gender that a 5-year-old has? Daisy?
My 5-year-old has a better understanding of gender.
Almost certainly, yeah. But I mean, in general, a normie 5-year-old.
My 5-year-old uses my correct pronouns.
Oh, good for them. You've raised them well.
She's a good girl.
Yes.
Or whatever she ends up identifying as later on in life.
Indeed.
Like, she is aware that she is hyperfeminine. She's very aware that I am very, very...
Oh, so you cut out there.
Oh, sorry, I got an alert, that's why. Thank you for following, Harpscord. Yeah, she's very aware that while she identifies and feels hyperfeminine and likes to express hyperfeminine, I am not like that at all.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's not something to be scared of or afraid of or anything. Because again, as we discussed earlier with the unisex bathrooms, if you're raised with it, you'll get used to it. I only found it uncomfortable because it was something I was unfamiliar with. That's all.
That's nuts. There are many layers of womanhood and they cannot be co-opted by opportunists. Now, on the subject of privilege, I don't actually believe men are inherently privileged. There are pros...
Because you're an idiot. Yes. Daisy, you've plainly shown us that already, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't even begin to go into how stupid this woman is.
Yeah.
She has no fucking idea. You cannot sit there and campaign for women's liberation while also unironically sitting there and saying, oh, but to be a woman, you must be able to have children, must dress in dresses, must have long hair, must wear pink, must wear makeup. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perceived as both a man or a woman, and men, of course, have their own issues inherent to them to deal with, just as women do. But certainly, nobody is entitled to be seen as a woman just because they want to be seen that way. There is a great deal more to being a woman than just slapping on the label or a frock whenever you feel like it.
But that was literally what you were arguing. That you had to present.
You literally just said that to be a woman, you have to dress like a woman, and by dressing like a woman, I'm assuming you mean wear flowery, pink, stupid fucking dresses.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So she just debunked her own argument there, I think. Anyway.
Interesting, because like I often ask trans people and people in the queer community what they think the difference is between a man or a woman, or what a woman is or what a man is, and I don't really get a lot of quick, comfortable answers. If you say that the difference is biological sex, then obviously you invalidate all trans people. And if you say that the difference is something like that men are masculine and women are feminine, then you're invalidating all masculine women and feminine men.
Yeah, but you were literally saying earlier about women having to have a definition and they were being erased. So aren't you there erasing women?
So here's what the definition of a woman is. A woman is a human who is an adult who identifies as one.
Well, they don't have to be an adult, because as we heard earlier, you can get fetal women. So
that's not even a thing.
That's fine. No, well, Carolyn said it was, so it must be. Please.
Carolyn is a piece of twattery that don't know what the fuck she's talking about.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's such a creepy thing to say, fetal women. Jesus. Anyway. Where was I?
Trans woman with overtly masculine features, you're not going to be treated the same way I am as a cis woman. You're also not going to have the same...
True, but you present in a more...
non-binary way.
Yeah, I was just going to say more butch, but yeah, non-binary way.
You've got a fucking man quiff, a fucking undercut, and you're wearing a man's t-shirt.
Yeah.
And you are claiming that women need to be traditionally feminine. I am sorry, Carolyn, but take your toilet brush hair and go use it to clean out a toilet, because it is all your own head is good for.
Well, exactly, and not just that, but if she was to do that, it would be appropriate, because that's where shit belongs.
Mm-hmm.
Same experience as a trans woman who chooses to present in a more feminine way, like Blair White or Rose of Dawn.
If you claim to be a woman, well,
so again, it's just true scum nonsense. Just
then you better look like a woman, or at least try to.
One of my concerns.
What are you? Oh, God! Or at least try to. How can you be? It seems so strange to me that you would be a drag queen, and therefore you would think you'd have some intrinsic knowledge of the complexity of gender and how that's viewed by people, and yet have such a ludicrously childish notion of what gender is.
Don't. So, I'm going to say this once again for everybody in all the chats. Gender is a spectrum. Gender expression is a spectrum. Sexuality is a spectrum. All of this is our spectra. All of it.
Yeah.
If you are trying to binarize things that science knows, agrees, and has long since determined are spectra, and you are trying to remove identities that have lasted since prehistory, there is something fundamentally wrong with your brain.
Yeah. Oh yeah, these people's brains are broken in many respects. Yeah.
Oh, but fucking brainworms and bloody Twitter
is that if we start to legally change the definition of what a woman is, then it could start to backtrack the progress that female people have made for themselves.
I think that's really interesting that they would make that point. A, because it's wrong, but B, you've got people like Daisy Cousins and Carolyn Borosenko who are shilling for Donald Trump, who has literally rolled back a lot of the progress that women have made in terms of their legal rights.
Yeah. I can't even argue that.
Yeah, so, maybe don't ally yourself with far-right bigots who want to take away your rights because you think trans people are icky. Stop, please, for the love of God, stop.
Legally. And that's why I think it's important to protect female people's reality from being erased, to protect their right to female-only spaces, to ensure that sex-based statistics are recorded accurately. Female people around the world, especially in other parts of the world, are not asked what their gender identity is before having their clitoris cut off or before being denied access to education. Women can't...
Right, but what does that have to do with anything? I mean, it's true. What you said there is literally true, but what's that got to do with
I was going to come in with, hang on, let me mute the sound coming from your thing so I'm not getting echoed. Right. I was going to come in with, wait a minute. What the fuck has genital mutilation got to do with being transgender? Oh yeah, that's right. Fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Literally nothing.
Yeah, also, as someone points out, What are female people? What's that a thing? That's a really... It's not as bad as natal women, but it's as nonsensical. Anyway.
Escape these things. These experiences are not something that can be shared by male people simply by identifying alongside them at will. With all of this said, I acknowledge that neurodiversity and sex dysphoria are a real thing. It seems to be a mental affliction that I honestly would not wish on anyone.
Conflating gender and sex.
Yeah. This one's making my brain hurt.
I want to do video game only things to her face that would otherwise in real life be against TOS.
Yes.
But only in Among Us.
Yeah, I've taken to just going, I want to TOS, because you can't say it.
Mm.
And I think they're going to eventually cut onto them in Minecraft thing. I think they'll realise eventually it's not really in Minecraft.
And I know there's no cure for it, but the way we treat it is through surgeries and hormones that would allow a person's body to mimic the...
Not necessarily. That doesn't work for everyone, and it's not available to everyone. Just saying.
Yeah, also to address something in my chat, Harpsichord, misogyny to this level is not just a people of colour in other countries thing, it is hugely Western. There is enormous amounts of misogyny in the US and the UK, and even mainland Europe. Yeah. Huge amounts.
Well, yeah, I thought we were making real progress on that here in the UK.
Tories in power, fuck off.
Well, yeah, but I thought at least like, oh, maybe there are some social issues we can get around. And no, Britain's just gone full Little England fashmo, which is making me despise the place. That's fun. Anyway.
Well, you're only starting to despise the place now. Not a lot catching up to do.
Well, no, I've always had my misgivings, but I always felt optimistic, potentially, that something good could happen. Whereas now it's just bleak. Everything's bleak.
Yeah, no, genital mutilation harpsichord happened in the UK too, and in the US.
Yeah. I mean, again, people, it is illegal, but so is murder, and that still happens too.
Appearance and function of the opposite sex in order to reduce depression, anxiety, risks of suicide, etc. And these people deserve our and need our understanding and respect and our help.
I will see you guys back here.
Do you think this video has shown trans people that, though? In any way?
I don't think it's shown trans people anything other than, oh look, more people who hate us.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
no reason.
Anyway, I think we've had enough of that nonsense. So I'm just going to switch back to my silly pictures. Anyway, yes. So, what thoughts? How bad do you think the situation is?
In the UK specifically, or globally?
Well, I suppose the UK first, and then you can take a more broad geographic look.
So the UK had started to improve weirdly under David Cameron and Theresa May in terms of access to healthcare, trans rights, all that sort of stuff. However, one of the big issues is that, I mean, there's a few issues here, right? But the main one is that Boris Johnson is trying to appeal to UKIP and Britain First voters.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Holy shit. I just got 5 tier 1 subs gifted in my channel. Thank you very much, anonymous gifter. Holy monkeys, thank you very much for those gift subs, anonymous gifter. I was not expecting that, but I appreciate it. You know that racist that came into your channel earlier?
I do.
They've just popped up in mine.
Oh, well, feel free to immediately slap them down, because they are garbage.
Trump 2020, Blue Lives Matter, black, the blue, Boris is great. Yeah, I don't think you'd think so if you lived under him. He's a fucking pile of incompetent shit. He makes Trump look positively clever, and Trump is garbage.
Indeed, yes.
Now, come out, get out and don't come back.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So you were saying Britain was starting to make progress, but...
Yes, so under Theresa May and weirdly David Cameron, Britain had started to make progress. David Cameron, as much of a neoliberal as he was closer to the centre than Theresa May was, who was slightly closer to the centre than Boris Johnson is. Every Tory Prime Minister we've had just seems to move further to the right.
Yeah.
Which is a concern, because obviously it is.
Yeah, indeed. Although it would be an interesting question to see, are they moving right because the people are, or the other way round?
Yeah, that is an interesting question.
Yeah, I'm not expecting you to answer. I'm just posing that as a thought experiment. Take it away, ruminate upon it, viewers.
It's a hard thing to exactly point a hand at and define why the Tories are moving further right. I think a certain amount of it will be that America's moving further right.
Yeah.
And the UK, being the UK, is desperately trying to bend over backwards to suck the US's dick.
Indeed. And we are very flexible.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, yes. Well,
in terms of legislation, I don't think it's going to get any better. I think it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
In terms of the US, ditto.
Well, it depends. I mean, how do you feel? Because I know, say, Kamala Harris, for instance, has a patchy record, but it does seem that if Joe Biden gets in, they have a far more socially liberal position, it seems, than virtually every American government ever, which might...
The only reason they have that is because they basically lifted Bernie's policy platform. In the States, policy platforms mean very little. Manifestos mean quite a lot. Here, they mean nothing. In US elections, nobody takes them seriously.
Do you not think they would implement any of that?
Absolutely not.
No, okay.
It's like Biden saying he's going to expand Medicare. I don't expect that to happen either. Or Medicaid, whatever.
Although, to be fair, it's not entirely in their gift to be able to do those things. There's still a Congress to meddle with, as Barack Obama found out, I suppose.
He can, with expansions like that, he can put them through his executive orders if he needs to.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, so in world terms, you think it's getting worse as well?
Mainland Europe is getting better. Germany's getting better. France is getting better, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
The UK and the US specifically are bad.
Yeah.
Eastern Europe is bad and getting worse. China is bad and kind of staying statically bad. I don't know enough about Korea's approach, nor Japan's. The Middle East don't have trans as a thing that you're allowed to be at all. Africa, I don't know enough about.
Yeah.
But I do know that some African tribes have like a genderless gender as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of almost 50-50 with a lean on the transphobe side.
And did you say you had something positive for us as well?
Oh, that was the Judith Butler thing.
Oh, okay, good.
I can do candy, though, if you're interested. Give me a minute. I'm good at candy. Bear with.
Okay. And then we'll, whatever that is, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can continue to stream if you want. I'm not just saying, like, because I'm fucking hungry. I'm a fat man in need of sustenance. Yeah, I mean, to just whilst we're waiting to Gorilla in the chat, I think they do have a progressive platform, but as Kez was explaining, it might be what gets promised at election doesn't necessarily get delivered. But yeah, I think it's still worth it because get rid of the fascist and literally anything else would be better.
The problem I have with Biden is that there is a very large chance that it will lead to another fascist later.
Possibly so, yes. But the only problem then is that if that's your two options, you've got either stick with Trump and accelerationism, which I don't think is healthy, or take your chances and see what happens, because those realistically are the two options, It's grim, but I mean, it says a lot about how far the American empire has crumbled that these are your two options, but those are the two options. You can vote third party, but it's not actually going to change anything.
It's not worth it. Okay. You'll like this.
Okay, hang on. I need to... one second. Apologies. I need to go over to the screen. There we go.
Sorry?
Yeah, go on. I'm with you. Do we have volume? We don't have volume.
If you go up here to the top of your thing, you should have an options button.
View options. Yeah.
Right, see if mute shared volume is ticked, and if it is, untick it.
Mute shared volume. I don't see any such option. I've got zoom ratio, request remote control, and annotate. Did you share with volume? Because you have to tick a box saying you share with volume.
I don't watching. Yeah, I'm sure I did. Hold on, let's see.
Unshare and try again.
Oh. I'm going back. Sorry, it was my cat. Right, let's try again.
Yeah, my daughter's on Love Island. I mean, it's a nutty thing.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a nutty thing.
I've spent the last 3 weeks calling every contestant a brain-dead zombie. And obviously, that doesn't include your daughter.
Just stop talking, Piers. Listen, it's entertainment, right? Big Brother and all that, right? That's shot to pieces. X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, so not the dear life, right?
I mean, Love Island, there's a load of beautiful people trying to have sex with each other.
Listen, Piers, it's a game show. 50 grand at stake, a lot of dough.
Jeremy Corbyn, are you watching Love Island?
No. 50 grand at stake, a lot of dough. And it ain't that bad, Piers, and Danny's gonna win it. And it ain't that bad, Piers, and Danny's gonna win it.
Pamela, what do you watch of an evening? Oh.
50 grand at stake, a lot of dough. Go back to this whole Brexit thing. You're judging them on, they don't know nothing about it. Who knows about Brexit? Who knows about Brexit? Brexit. No one knows what it is. It's like this mad riddle. So what's happened to that twat, David? How comes he can scuttle off and call all this on? Yeah?
Yeah.
Where is this twat? I mean, what's twat? 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 It's a nutty twat. It's a nutty mad twat. It's a nutty twat. It's a nutty mad twat. He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. Where is the twat? He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. Where is the twat? He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. Where is the twat? He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. Twat. He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. Where is the twat? He's in Europe, in Nice, with his trotters up. I mean, what a mad twat.
There you go. I thought you'd enjoy that.
That was very good.
I definitely recommend, if you haven't looked into it before, Swede Mason's stuff.
Yes, I think I will.
And Dave Wall as well. They're both very good, and they do stuff like that all the time.
With these trotters up. Lovely. Anyway, and David Cameron was a twat. And is a twat.
It's true.
And on that
and
note...
it is, in fact, a bot.
It is. Yes. That slapped, I believe, as the young people say.
Yeah, we're getting too old to use that language.
Yeah, I am absolutely, completely. But there we go. Anyway,
right.
Yes. Do you want to pimp your stuff?
I'm Kezzbox. I do politics and LGBTQIA plus rights and disability rights and shitting on reactionaries and racists and transphobes and TERFs. And I host panels. I have one tomorrow night at 9:30 UK time. So 4:30 Eastern. 3:30 Central, 1:30 Pacific, 10:30 PM mainland Europe.
Yeah, and fuck mountain time.
I'm holding a non-binary panel tomorrow explicitly about non-binary issues. Yeah, I'll have Lumu on, I'll have Agenda Witchery on, I'll have Cause on, all of which stream in their own right. Lumu is a partner on Twitch, one of the biggest non-binary, if not the biggest non-binary streamer on Twitch. They're so wholesome, it hurts. Yeah, and I might have another guest or two later in the day.
Awesome. Well, yeah, go and subscribe to Kez. The link is below in the YouTubes. I don't know how to put links on Twitch. I don't know what the fuck that is, but just type in Kezzbox with 2 Z's. It's fine. Anyway, yes. And to your chat, hello, I'm Kevin, by the way. I probably should have done that at the start. You can subscribe to me if you want to. I'm at KF Logan 1875.
I will shout you out right now.
No, thank you.
There we go. Everyone go follow Kev. He's also on YouTube, but you'll have to look him up because I'm not fucking linking. I can't.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yes.
I also have a YouTube as well that I'm putting panel VODs up on, and I will eventually be putting highlights and stuff up on too.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, if you give me a link to that, I'll go and put that in the YouTube as well, because I didn't know you. I didn't think you were on YouTube. But there we go.
I don't stream to YouTube, but
well, yeah, but if you're putting stuff up anyway, I'll shout you out there because people can go and watch the VODs. Because sometimes I think some people have an issue with Twitch; they prefer to stay on YouTube, but that's fine.
I'll just shove it in your Twitch chat.
Thank you. Okay, so
you can put it wherever.
Yes. On that note, yeah, thanks for coming on. This was
Thank
fun.
you for having me.
We'll have to chat again. Yes, go and subscribe and all that jazz, and I will raid now into, I don't know, whoever.
Well, I'll be going for a bit if you want to raid into me.
Oh, okay, I'll do that then.
I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but we'll hang out for a little bit.
Okay. Yes. So I'll kick you over to Kez, and then I'll say goodbye. 1 second.
I'll hop out of the Discord call and close in.
Okay.
Cheers for the chat.
Cool, man. I'll see you later, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow at my usual time at 7, which is 2 PM on the East Coast. Bye-bye.